Good morning. 9:30 in the morning, bright and early today.
Yes, that's earlier than usual, isn't it?
Yeah, normally I have a client.
And here's the dog.
Hello, Rollo. This is Rollo.
He wants to be involved, don't you? And we're actually sat on what he thinks is his bed. So, yeah.
You're probably wondering why we're here. Now he's giving me his paw, which is larger than my whole hand. We decided that today we would talk skincare for multiple reasons, but Wendy has a little bit of a passion for skincare and knows a lot about it.
And you had eczema.
And I spent my whole life with eczema and cured it myself.
So how did you cure it?
Wow. Two things really, an internal and an external. So internally, the use of probiotics, as recommended by Wendy Budd. So weirdly, not for eczema. You recommended them for the other stuff that was going on. I think made a big difference, but that wasn't the whole picture. So I spent my whole life using products like, the simple soaps and things like that, which actually, when you look at them, are not simple at all.
No.
Full of chemicals.
Yeah.
Entirely chemical, actually.
Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, so, and I was always been super cautious about the laundry detergents that I could use and, the soaps, the shampoos, everything. And then was using hydrocortisone cream, which is steroid-based, and just really irritated my whole life by eczema, right from childhood. Worst was mostly on my hands, and it would keep me awake at night just scratching, and quite often, because I got a beard, I would just be like,
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd wake up and like my pillow would be covered in blood because I've been scratching in the night, and really yucky. And I know that's a really common story for a lot of people. I know so many people that suffer with eczema.
Yeah.
And actually I know it's not exactly the same, but my granddad always had psoriasis.
Yeah.
And that, they were other, like, he used to get laser treatment or something, I think, or they used to put
light treatment. Yeah.
But nothing ever really worked. And same with me, my eczema, nothing ever really worked. But then, by accident, at Camden Market, I found a soap stall that sold natural soaps. And I bought them as a gift for my friends Mary and Julia. You know Mary and Julia. Yeah. But I also bought some chocolate at the time. And when we got to see them, I said, "What would you want, the soap or the chocolate?" The chocolate. So then I was...
Silly question.
I know. So then I was left with these soaps. And I thought, I'll give it a bash. And my eczema just went.
Wow.
And then long story short, I got a little bit disgruntled with the service I was receiving from the soap provider. After buying them for many, many years online. And as it happens, he ran a how to make your own soap workshop. And so we did.
Oh, amazing.
And so we started making them ourselves, and now we do make them ourselves. Easier than we thought. No nasty ingredients at all. And in fact, what I've really noticed, and I meant to bring them with me today and I completely forgot, is when you look at packets of soap that say that they're natural, and then you turn them over and look at the ingredients, full of shit. Absolutely full of stuff that you can't pronounce, that you don't know what it is. Or also full of perfume oils.
Yeah.
Even the ones that claim to be natural are filled with perfume oils. And the ones that say that they use essential oils in them, what they mean is they use a few drops of essential oil, but they need the perfume oil to get the smell, because you can't get the smell through the essential oil without putting too much essential oil in. And if you put too much in, it'd be dangerous for your skin anyway. So I've really had my eyes open to the world of soap. And recently I won some soap on the postcode lottery, of all places.
Really?
Yeah, also won socks on the postcode lottery too.
Socks?
Yeah.
How random.
It supports small businesses, which is pretty cool. So then, like a small business, so many postcodes will win, and then the small business will then post out their products to all of the people. So it's quite nice, actually. So the socks are really good. And we won some soaps, and they were, kind of advertised as really natural. And I looked at them, and just this long list of ingredients. And so when we make our natural soaps now, and we don't sell them, so this is not a sales pitch, we just make them for ourselves, and we do workshops. Got one coming up on the 14th of July, that is a sales pitch. if you want to learn to make them. But it's all oils based, and then the only active ingredient that's a chemical that we have in there is caustic soda.
Yeah,
lye. Lye, right? Which is in all soap.
It's not soap unless it has lye in
exactly.
it.
But through the curing process, it evaporates, and then it's no longer an active ingredient.
Well, shall I tell you the history of soap making?
Yeah, I'd love that.
So we don't know where. We think it was discovered by accident through potash, and probably people cooking like animal fat over a fire. Then the potash mixing with rainwater and the fat. So it would have been most likely discovered by accident, because lye is basically potash, so it comes from the burning of wood. Now we make it chemically, but it was found back in the dawns of time, most likely by accident, and then it was probably discovered that it was soapy and it helped to clean.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it is a completely natural way to make soap. And chemical baths, like for example Dove soap, isn't a soap because it doesn't use lye. A soap can only be a soap if it's using caustic soda, which is sodium, I've forgotten the chemical name, sodium hydroxide. I think it's sodium hydroxide. But yeah, and it's a chemical reaction between the oil or the fat and the sodium, the lye, but it leaves it completely non-dangerous. Like salt. Salt is, so if you had sodium and chloride separately, they would be poisonous, but combined together as table salt, they're essential for our health. So
really
that's how I explain it.
Oh, I like that. So yeah, so we make these soaps now, and let me see if I can remember off the top of my head what the ingredients are. So it's olive oil, sunflower oil, castor oil, I can't remember, grapeseed oil, coconut oil.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
Plus caustic soda, which you make the lye with.
Yeah.
And then after a month of curing, they're ready to use.
Yeah, I had a soap making stage. I loved it. I don't know if you were the same, but everything I looked at, or any container that could possibly hold soap, I was thinking of a soap mould. I was obsessed. And then I was making it to sell in the shop, and then I just completely got bored of it. And I think it was because people wanted the same soap, and I liked the experimenting with making different soaps.
We make them different all the time. So we use either our homegrown botanicals from the garden that we've dried, and we put in essential oils, and we've also got quite a few homegrown things that we bring over from Greece as well, from Alex's parents' beach house.
Oh, nice.
So like we've got a huge jar of lemon verbena that's nice to grind up and put in soap.
That smells amazing.
Yeah, and chamomile and lavender and all sorts of things. And then we use doTERRA essential oils because they're good quality ones. But again, not enough to make it smell. And we noticed that when we were trying to sell them, people, the first thing they do is pick it up and sniff it.
Yeah.
And actually the point is that they don't contain perfumes. They're not going to smell particularly strong because the perfumes are the irritants for the skin a lot of the time. But then subsequently we didn't sell much because they didn't smell very interesting.
But then they do smell more when you use them. Like you will get that slight scent. But I can put a shameless plug in for a friend of mine who makes the most amazing soaps, and she's in Portsmouth in the Cascades. She's called Golly Natural, and her soap is amazing and completely natural, her whole skincare range. And she actually does a tallow soap now, which is really good for dry skin, eczema and psoriasis.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yes.
The other thing I've noticed is I've tried some soaps before that are natural, but they've either been too oily, they haven't washed off my skin, or they haven't lathered enough. But the ones that we make, because of the coconut oil, it makes them lager, and they really are easy to wash off as well. You don't get left with that kind of residue, which is nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I really
enjoy
enjoy
I love
doing
that. So when is the workshop?
Oh, it's on Sunday the 14th of July.
Oh, so soon.
Yes, so in the morning, I think the morning or the afternoon, I can't remember which way around it is, but morning or afternoon I'm doing a terrarium making workshop, and then the other half of the day we're doing a soap making workshop.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yes, it's good fun. Just come up. But yeah, so we love doing that, and making these really nice rustic soaps that have completely changed my skin.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the thing is now, is my skin can now tolerate a little bit of other things. So I used to not even be able to wash up because like the fairy liquid would cause me blisters on my hands. But I can do that now, on occasion.
But you love that.
Yeah, great. That's why we've got a dishwasher. But on the odd occasion that I need to do that, like at the studio, I don't have to think, oh God, the next day I'm going to be all blistered and itchy.
And I bet over the years you were prescribed and used lots of various creams.
The steroid-based creams, which were just thinning my skin.
Yeah.
Really not good for you at all.
No.
But were the only thing that would relieve the itching. But it would go on cycles. So, it would be blistery and itchy, and then it would be bleeding, and then it would be cracked and dry, and then it would be good for a week. Then start the cycle again. And in that, I'm using the hydrocortisone cream to try and get it to that dry state. Stop the itching.
And then probably like barrier creams, like oil-based creams, ointments, bath oils.
Yeah, oilatum, aqueous, all of the more neutral stuff. But even that, none of it works.
And a lot of that is petroleum-based, so petroleum jelly, which does work as creating a barrier for the skin, but unfortunately it's so good at doing that the skin stops producing its own oils. So what tends to happen with those sort of ointment based or petroleum based products is that over time it makes your skin drier.
Makes sense.
It's like when you see people, when you see people that use Vaseline on their lips and they're forever reapplying it. That's the same reason, because it's petroleum jelly, so it creates that barrier on the lip, but it stops the body producing its natural oils.
This totally explains my addiction to chapstick.
Right, don't use chapstick.
I can't.
Use a nicer one. You could make your own.
Ooh, okay, then that I'm into.
Yeah, you could make your own. You've already got a lovely amount of oils. It's so easy to make your own lip balm.
Oh, well, I've got one from, remember when we did the 6 month?
Oh, yeah.
6 week.
Well, why aren't you using it?
Because Octavia, my daughter, loves it because it's peppermint.
Okay.
But I wasn't there when we made it, if you remember.
Oh, yes,
I had COVID, I think. So I couldn't go to the last one. But out of all of the things that we did, that was the thing I was super excited about. And then
oh, that's typical.
Because I love a chapstick. I said if I was stranded on a desert island, I could take one thing. It would be a chapstick. Yeah. Proper addiction.
We could.
Good to know why I'm addicted now.
Yeah, it's so easy to make. I mean, so you choose a mixture of oils, like the mixture of oils for your soap, and then you just add a wax. So like you could use beeswax, or you could use a plant-based wax, candelia wax, and you only need between sort of 5, depending on how thick you want the ointment, between 5 to 10% wax to oil. So for example, if it was like 100 grams, you could use 5 grams to 10 grams of beeswax or candelia wax, and then you melt that down gently into the oil. And then when it sets, that's an ointment.
I'm having a brainwave. I feel like we should do like a
skincare
day.
Yes.
And we can do all of these things and spend all day making lovely skincare products.
Yeah, because you wouldn't believe, like ointments are easy. Ointments are so easy to make. Creams are definitely more challenging.
I remember you talking about that before.
Yeah. Because you need an emulsifier, but essentially any cream that you buy is 50% oil, 50% a water base, and that could be like a rose water, it could be a herbal tea, but any cream, no matter how expensive, 50% of it is water. So when you think, these jars of cream that we purchase, essentially half that is just water. And then to mix the oil and water, it's the same principle as when you make mayonnaise. You need an emulsifier, because oil and water, as we know, don't mix. So really, that's what a cream is.
So what do we do with what's an
So
emulsifier?
there are various different emulsifiers. Most cosmetic companies would use a petroleum-based emulsifier because it's also antimicrobial. It's a preservative and it stops mould. So that's where you see a lot of the paraben stuff in creams. But if you wanted a completely natural cream and you were using it just for yourself, and you didn't mind keeping it in the fridge, and you didn't mind if it only lasted a week or so, you could actually use egg yolk is a good one, because that has a lot of nourishment in it anyway. Or waxes, beeswax again, or a plant-based wax. But there are other emulsifiers, more sort of chemical-based. But if you're making it just for yourself, it's quite a nice thing to do.
We definitely need to do this.
Yeah, that would be fun.
What is this tea? It's nice. It's a green tea. Is it jasmine?
No, this is it doesn't sound very nice, but this is skullcap.
Oh, do you know what? I looked in my cupboard yesterday and I've got some skullcap tincture that you must have given me ages ago. It sat in the back of my cupboard. I just kind of found it rooting at the back. I was like, I wonder what that was for when I got it.
Oh, well, skullcap's a really good herb for a busy mind. You know, sometimes when your mind, you're a bit overwhelmed and you've got 100 million things and you can't think clearly because it's overwhelming. It can help with that.
Oh, I think I remember we were giving it to my daughter now.
Yeah, it's good for children, for
that's what we had it for.
Exam, stress. Yeah, it's a very gentle nerve herb, calming.
I think that's what we had it for. Yeah, funny that you said that, because I literally just found it yesterday.
Well, skullcap, I'm having a skullcap moment at the moment. I think I go through phases with herbs where I drink one or take one, and then you get bored of that one and you go on to something else.
Yeah.
It is nice though, isn't it? It's slightly bitter.
So skullcap and green tea, or it's just skullcap?
Just skullcap.
Does it taste like green tea?
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's nice, yeah.
Because people always say when they come to the apothecary, oh, I don't like tea. But it's not the same. There are so many herbal teas that have got so many different properties, or you can have them just... I mean, you were talking about lemon verbena. I mean, lemon verbena, if you think you don't like herbal tea or tea, that would be one I would recommend, because it's so, as you would expect, lemony. It's really zingy. But it's very uplifting emotionally, and it's a beautiful tasting tea.
What else is really good? Just rosemary.
Very good. We say rosemary for remembrance. So when I was a student and I was studying, I used to burn rosemary essential oil. And then during my exams, I took it in, like a few drops onto the handkerchief. And I think all the other herbalists did the same, because when the examiners came in, they almost got knocked over by the scent of rosemary. But I think we all passed, so it definitely works. Yeah.
So a slightly good tangent there. That was fun.
Yes.
Back to skincare.
Yes, back to skincare.
You are quite passionate. Is it the Inca range of makeup or something you use?
Inca, yes.
Oh, okay. So talk about, because for a lot of people, facial skincare is particularly important. Not for me, but tell us a little bit about that.
So I really enjoy makeup, and I was looking for a natural, organic makeup range, but I wanted one that sort of packed a punch. So a lot of the natural makeups tend to be really natural colours, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I really like quite bright colours. I want my skin, my makeup to last all day, and unfortunately a lot of the sort of natural brands don't do that. And then I found Inika, and I actually found it when I was in Glastonbury and was just super excited, and I contacted them and asked them if I could stock the makeup brand in the shop. which I do. And then probably 2 years ago, they released their skincare brand, and it's just amazing. So they don't just tell you it's organic, they tell you the percentage of organic ingredients in their product. So it's usually around about 80+% organic ingredients. All of the packaging now is plastic free. They actually say it's more than plastic neutral, because they have a charity where they actually employ people to go and collect plastic from beaches, and then they turn these into pegs, which is quite random, but
whatever you can use it for, amazing.
But so it's more than plastic neutral, but it's based in Australia. It's an Australian brand, so they use a lot of Australian sort of bush remedies like Kaduki plum. They've got a natural skin vitamin C skin brightener, which I really enjoy, which is like a serum. They've got a day cream and night cream. But it's just fantastic. I love it.
And you always have great skin.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I've been testing out all the products. So before I got the range in, I was lucky enough to get a lot of the little testers, because I think it's important that you test the products out. So everything that I sell in my apothecary, I've used or I really stand behind.
We call that integrity. I love it.
Yeah,
because not a lot of people have it.
No, I think, I mean, there are other brands out there that make claims, but when you, like you say, when you look on the ingredients and you know what you're looking for,
it's just marketing, a lot of it.
Yeah, or they'll say things like fragrance, and there's a law. It's a perfume law. It goes back hundreds of years. You don't have to say the ingredients in your perfume.
It's the same with essential oils. You can write that something's 100% essential oil, but what that means is there is a drop of 100% essential oil in there, but you don't have to list any other ingredients.
Yeah, so they're really sneaky. But they've got a purity guarantee with the Anika products. They don't use any paraben, they don't use any animal products, they don't use fragrance, they don't have sulfates. So I think that they are really, really ethical, and what's more, the products are really, really good. Yeah.
Great. And then what about skincare from an internal perspective?
I think it's really important that you work internally and externally, you know. So your experience with the probiotics is really fascinating, because we actually have a microbiota in our intestines, but we have it on our skin. You know, we're covered in bacteria, good and bad, and we need to have that right balance. But if we're working internally, essential fats are really important, that you moisturize not only the outside in topically, but also from the inside out. So things like omega-3 fatty acids from food, you know, eating oily fish maybe a couple of times a week. Egg yolk also has high amounts of omega-3 acids. Steering clear of the inflammatory seed oils, which we tend to cook and fry with, like canola or rapeseed. They're the same thing. Highly inflammatory for a lot of people. Cooking with things like coconut oil, or using things like olive oil as a dressing. Eating butter rather than margarine, because obviously margarine is
plastic.
Yeah. It is. And do you know that margarine, if it wasn't coloured, would be grey?
Ooh, nice.
So they colour it with like turmeric or a colouring to give it that sort of buttery look.
I once heard that margarine is one molecule away from being plastic. I don't know if that's true.
I've heard that, but shall I tell you the history? I'm giving you a history there. So the first margarine type product was developed during the Second World War in Germany, and it was basically made from the leftovers of the coal industry. And they refined the coal and got this fat out of it and made it into like a margarine type butter, because they couldn't import during the war, and it was a problem. But it found that it was incredibly toxic.
Wow. Yeah,
as you would imagine it would be,
yeah,
coming from coal. But yeah, it was highly profitable.
Still is.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that's marketed as healthier for you.
Yeah, that's it. Healthy seed oils, but we haven't had seed oils in our diet really until sort of very recently in our history. And I think a lot of research now and science is coming out as to how poor they are, particularly for cardiovascular health, which is of course what they're marketed for, heart healthy, you know. But no, I mean, I would always say have proper butter.
I love proper butter.
Yeah, I mean, it's proper butter is just what, 2 ingredients: milk, full fat milk, and maybe salt or not. That's it.
Gotta have salted.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm one of those people that when I use the butter, I just put it on whatever, and then I'll just have a bite for myself because it's really good.
I love butter, and actually it's really good for you. There's one of the fatty acids, funnily enough, called butyrate, which is in butter, is considered to be a essential fatty acid or a ketone body, and it helps to bathe the brain, and it's a better fuel than glucose or simple sugar for the brain. But it's very nutritive to our gut microbiome. So actually our gut bacteria, they make sodium butyrate out of the carbohydrates that we ingest. They turn it into fat. So if you're eating the fat straight off, you give them exactly what they want.
And that's for your body to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a practice in yoga, it's a cleansing practice called, I'll try and get this right, I'll probably butcher it, Shankarprasankalana or something.
I wouldn't forget, Shankarprasanka.
Shankarprasankalana, I think. And then there's a shorter version called Lagu Shankarprasankalana, which is basically intestinal cleanse. You drink a lot of salt water, do some moves, and then basically poop yourself for 2 days. But it flushes everything out, right? And then after that, what you're supposed to eat to introduce your body back to food gently is ghee.
Oh,
actually.
Clarified butter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that is traditionally used in that practice to kind of, after cleansing the system, to kind of reboot it safely and give you the nutrients and vitamins that you need on that kind of gentle basis as you reintroduce food.
Yeah, I can imagine that's really powerful actually, because ghee, clarified butter, is really dense energy, but it has a lot of nutrients, because when we think about fat, we don't think of its nutrient value, but unlike sugar or carbohydrates, actually there is very important nutrients in certain healthy fats, which are really important for health, but particularly for our cell membranes and also the integrity of our skin. You know, when you think that every single cell of our body has what we call a lipid bilayer, which means that it's essentially made of lipids, which are fats. So if you don't have a decent amount of nutritive fat in your diet, your cells are going to be less fluffy, I suppose, is less bouncy. Yes, less. I'm sure there is a term, I can't think of it, but yeah, the integrity of the cell membrane is not going to be as good.
It's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that. I can't pronounce it.
It's Lugu Shankar Prasankalana, I think.
Okay.
But I may have butchered
Have you
that.
done it yourself?
Yeah.
What was your
times.
experience?
So I'd always done the half version, which is the Lugu version, not the full, because the full one you really need to do under the care of a specialist instructor. It's very quick to do. You drink, I think, if I recall, I've done it maybe 3 or 4 times. I haven't done it for years, though. You drink about 6 pints of salt water. So you would do, I can't remember if it was a pint or 2 pints, you would neck it, do this series of 6 yoga poses, and then repeat that until all the water's gone, and obviously you'll then full to the brim of salt water, and then within about half an hour normally you're then glued to the loo for the rest of the day. But it completely, the idea is, it's a bit gross, but your elimination then should come out eventually just clear as salt water.
Right.
So because you've literally flushed everything out. And I've heard stories amongst the community of yoga teachers that I trained with. Like one person done it and pooped out a crayon.
A crayon?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my! I wasn't expecting you to say that.
But like, literally flush it. They must have eaten when they were a child.
Wow, yeah.
It literally flushes out everything that's in your system. And there's also other stories of them people who have been, I don't know, vegetarian or vegan for years, but then pooping out meat, or remnants of stuff like that. So it's interesting.
I'm guessing they have to be quite observant when it pops out. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, there's stories that I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've not met the people, but that's amongst our yoga community.
I would question the meat thing because
might have just been a chunk of intestine. Who knows?
Oh! Yeah, because generally your meat, I mean, it is a myth that meat stays in the colon for like years at a time. We know that it's quite disgusting, a subject that we're talking about, but
really? We all poop.
we all do poop. But there's been a lot of interesting data from people that have had, bags at various stages down their intestinal colon, and there's never any meat that is found. It tends to be the more sort of fibrous foods that tend to block the bag.
Or crayons.
Yeah. I mean, there's no nutritional value in crayon, I'm sure.
They're non-toxic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, kids probably do eat them.
Yeah, so there you go.
Interesting. Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to. It's just from a time perspective, you have to block out a whole day.
Well, yeah.
When you've got kids and stuff. I
can imagine you need to be near a toilet.
Yeah, so you need to start first thing before you've eaten anything.
Yeah.
And then, just hang out in your house for the rest of the day. And
then how much ghee do you consume after?
So you only need the ghee if you do the full one.
Right.
And my understanding is that you just literally do like a teaspoon and then build up. Right. And you don't properly eat, I don't think, for 24 hours, 48 hours after. You're just building up a little by little. Yeah. But I think it's just ghee for the first 24 hours after, if I recall.
Yeah, so that would, I can imagine that would be really quite interesting.
When I've done the half, you can return to normal eating, but when I've done it, I have just done ghee for the first few hours, and not had a big dinner or a big lunch that day, just small little snacky things.
Yeah. Well, I think fasting can be a really good way. If we get back to skin, sometimes if the body is really inflamed, itchy, red, by giving the body a clear sort of fasting window can really help to reduce that inflammation. It's much more difficult to do that with small children, which is obviously it's very difficult. But if you have an adult patient that comes to me, I do suggest fasting, or maybe sort of building up to like an 12-8 or whatever it is, eating once a day, or then maybe extending the fasting for maybe a 24-hour fast. And it can just give the body a break, and it will help to reduce inflammation, which in turn can help the skin. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you've been quite pro-fasting, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it. Well, it's a wonderful way that we can all very, very cheaply. It's more than cheap because you save money.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and I tell you the crazy thing when you fast for an extended period is you realise the amount of time that you spend purchasing food, thinking about food, planning food, making food,
killing time between meals,
washing up after food. You know, like a lot of people's whole day revolves around food. I mean, if I speak to my dad, he's turned into my grandma, because if you phoned up my grandma and you asked her how her day was, she would tell you what she'd eaten that day. Mm-hmm. And my dad has started to do exactly the same thing. But people, I think my family does live to eat.
Who's that community that don't eat at all?
Don't eat the fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, not fruitarian.
No, it's something else.
Breatharians.
Yeah, I think that's right. Breatharians.
Yeah.
They meditate their whole lives effectively and don't eat at all.
I think they're very thin.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't even. They exist. One of my people that works at the studio with me, she's met a group of them, and she said they were very ethereal, very kind of out of this world kind of.
Yeah, I bet.
That you'd have to be to.
Yeah, I mean that's very extreme, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But I mean, if it works for them, and good for them.
Yeah.
They get the energy apparently through the light.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't try that at home.
No.
But do fast. I mean, fasting and meditating could be a really good thing because you have got so much more time. And you notice when you do an extended fast that your body, around the time you would normally eat, there is that, extra hunger because your body's sort of in the habit of eating at a certain time. But the amount of extra time and energy that you have, which is really surprising. A lot of people think, well, when you fast, I'd have to do it on a day where I'm doing nothing. And I would suggest doing the opposite. Do it on a really busy day, because then you're less likely to be thinking or preoccupied with food.
It's really common, though, that people get so busy they forget to eat.
Yeah.
So that does make sense.
Yeah.
And also, how many times do we eat a meal and then get drained afterwards? Normally it's full of carbs.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Normally after a sort of a standard meal, you sort of have that, I call it the carb coma.
I know it well.
Yeah. But I think that salt water thing, that would be really good to get you off of sugar.
You reckon? I
think that, when you're ready, I think that would be a really good precursor. Maybe you should do the whole thing. And with a view of detoxing from sugar.
Maybe.
He doesn't look too
impure. Crunching up cornflakes first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in that sense, I guess if you are cleansing your body of all of that stuff and toxins, your skin would, I assume, become clearer and better in that sense as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can tell, for me, my skin reacts to dairy. I'm okay with butter. But if I eat, unfortunately, cheese or yogurt, which I love, I come out in a big spot, literally overnight. So over the weekend I had, it was a salmon mousse, and I bought it from this amazing farm shop. I'd highly recommend you go, actually. It's called Sky Park Farm. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's near Petersfield, and it's a venison farm. And they've got an amazing restaurant, cafe there, but lovely farm shop, and also a visitors centre. But you can the fields with the kids would love it. But I bought a salmon mousse pate, thinking, that would be nice. Didn't check the ingredients, and it actually had fromage frais in it, but it also had rapeseed, so I don't know. But anyway, the day after, this is why I've got the high neck top on. I got a massive spot on my neck, And I know that this will happen, but I mean, it was nice. But for me, dairy, anything other than butter, just really brings my skin out in spots. And I do tend to recommend, especially young teens that have quite severe acne, coming off of dairy tends to be one of the dietary modifications that seems to work.
Gosh, I had friends at school that went on Roaccutane, and it messed them up so bad, and in the long run it didn't even work.
I think it for me, the Roaccutane, it has to be taken for, I think it's 6 months minimum.
Yes, so one of my friends did it 3 times. She did 6 months, a year, and then 18 months.
And it dries the skin out. I actually had a patient come to see me was put on it, and it dried his skin out so much that his lips were bleeding. And actually the herbal protocol is really, but the mental health issues, I don't know if
massively cause them those issues.
Yeah. And it's a known common side effect. And don't get me wrong, I know that for young people that are experiencing acne, that in itself is going to cause lack of confidence and definitely depression. But the mental health issues that people have mentioned to me with the Roaccutane is much darker.
Absolutely.
Quite severe depression, angry episodes. Whereas you can use natural remedies for particularly cystic acne, coming off the dairy. And also, I mean, I know that I bang on about this all the time and I sound like a stuck record, but reducing refined sugar, you knew I was going to say that, didn't you? But yeah, that and the dairy, and using, I actually recommend people use a natural soap. So we stock the Dr. Bronner's soap, which is a really old sort of American soap family soap brand, but it's just normal proper soap. And I advise my clients to wash with soap and water. They do a particularly good tea tree soap, and the peppermint soap seems really effective. And then I like to recommend a natural toner like witch hazel, or just rose water. Like, really take it back to simple. You don't need these expensive sort of products that tend to really dry the skin.
If they really worked, then you'd buy them once, use them and be done. But you don't. You have to keep repeat buying them, so that proves they're not working.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, we all know the brands, don't we? But I think it's important to have a good skincare routine. And I really do believe that cleansing with soap and water, if it's very dry skin, I like the double cleanse, where you cleanse with an oil, massage the oil in, then use hot water and a flannel to take that off, and then use the soap. That can be a really nice way of doing it. But yeah, acne and herbs for acne that are really effective, in my view, are echinacea. Because we tend to think of echinacea as an immune booster and for anti-cold. But it's particularly effective for cystic acne, because it's a lymphatic detoxifier. So it really would depend on the patient. But generally, we would use a herbal mix internally. But probiotics also have a real, and you can use probiotics on the skin. There's quite a lot of, like Anika do a skin, like a night cream with probiotic bacteria in to sort of balance. And I think you'll see that more and more. A lot of skincare will have probiotics in them. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes.
So when my girls are spotty teenagers, I'm going to bring them to you.
I don't think that they will, you know, because you don't let them eat refined sugar.
That's true. They don't have refined sugar. They have probiotics every day. And we use only natural soaps on them.
So I would imagine, you know, like around the puberty, you're going to get the odd pimple. But I can't imagine that they would have severe. I mean, sometimes it can be so severe. It's really sort of almost disfiguring and scarring. I mean, that's the real issue is that the scarring. Yeah.
Especially if you squeeze them, although I love squeezing spots.
No. Well, the cystic ones, you can't really squeeze. They're those really sort of painful ones that don't come to a head. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're the worst.
They are the worst, yeah. Yes.
I'm a nightmare with spots. God help my girls when they turn into teenagers. I'll be chasing them like this.
Yeah, they will not be happy about that.
Okay. All right. Wow. Skincare. That was very interesting.
That was really fun. Yes, and I think maybe we could do a demonstration maybe one day. Let us know if you'd like that. We could show how to do like a basic lip balm that you can make at home with. I mean, you can literally make it with probably stuff other than maybe the beeswax that you'd have in your cupboard anyway.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right, nice to see you all. We will see you again next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.